Hello and welcome to the Tabletop Games blog topic discussion. Demonstrative Board Gaming, my approach to demoing games. Over the years I've demoed quite a lot of games at a few different locations. It all started back in 2019 at Essen Spiel, where I demoed Fog of Love to the German audience. More recently I've been demoing for Asmodee at UK Games Expo, as well as at my local board game cafe. With every demo, I've honed my skills, learned new tricks, and generally fine-tuned my approach. So in this article, I want to share my demoing method, which can also be applied to teaching games in many ways. Demoing and teaching can be very similar, but they are also very different. A demo is an introduction to a board game. Its aim is to show what a game feels like. Teaching, on the other hand, is more about giving everyone all of the information they need to take the board game away and play it themselves. Those are very different goals. During a demo, I rarely teach all the rules. Instead, I give everyone an overview of the game's setting, the actions they'll be taking and the choices they have. I only explain the rules that are needed to get started. I want to spark interest and give players the confidence that they will be able to play the board game right there and then. For example, when demoing Wingspan, I often begin by explaining that players are trying to attract birds into their nature reserve. I explain the 3 habitats and how they relate to different types of birds. I then immediately invite players to take their first turn. As the game progresses, I introduce additional rules and information as necessary. This is gradual reveal that means players aren't overwhelmed, but are engaged right from the start. The same approach can be used for teaching. Beginning with the essentials, letting people play, and then adding details little by little mirrors how people usually learn new things. They learn by doing. Yet, it heavily depends on the group. While I find that during conventions people are more willing to go with the flow, as their no time is limited, when teaching a game to friends or regular gaming groups, I am often asked for a full explanation. It's often hard to persuade them that it's fine to just start playing without complete knowledge. Going back to demoing, there are some important things to remember. Most importantly, knowing a board game really well is vital. You cannot demo, let alone teach a board game effectively if you haven't played it yourself. One year I was demoing Wormspan and Finspan as well as Wingspan. I knew Wingspan inside out but had never played Wormspan or Finspan before. Despite knowing the rules and getting tips from the other demoers, I found it impossible to demo those 2 games successfully. I could do a rules teach easily enough, but demoing was a disaster. The confidence that comes from real familiarity makes a demo smoother, faster, and far more enjoyable for everyone. Setting up a board game also plays a big part in creating a good demo experience. I often arrange components in a way that helps new players begin play quickly. When demoing 7 Wonders Duel, for example, I choose players' wonders for them, mainly because they won't know which ones to select, but also because it allows me to create a starting setup that leads to certain choices later. The same is true for the age decks, which I stack in a certain way. All of it creates a seemingly natural sequence of play that supports a positive demo experience, where players learn new information when necessary. Of course, I always tell people that I made those choices for them for the purpose of the demo. Demoing works the same way in smaller settings. For example, I was demoing for Asmodee at my local board game cafe. The atmosphere was quieter, but the goal was the same. So whether I'm at a busy convention or more relaxed evening session, the right preparation and setup help players dive into each game confidently and discover it as they play. As I keep saying, demoing isn't about explaining the board game, but about participation. People remember what they do more than what they hear, and tactile engagement can really help. I usually encourage people I demo for to touch components right away. In 7 Wonders Duel, for example, I quickly invite the starting player to select their first card, explaining what it does as they take it. In Wingspan, I hand them the dice tower and ask them to roll the food dice. It is these small moments of touching components that help players absorb the flow of the game more easily. Keeping the atmosphere light and enjoyable is also important. When players feel relaxed, they learn faster and have a lot more fun. I remember demoing Jaipur to 2 police officers one year. They weren't particularly into board games, but quickly picked up the rules and were soon laughing. I'm sure they'll remember the demo still. Flexibility is another key ingredient for a good demo. No 2 groups are ever the same. I once ran a demo for a family who already knew the game well and simply wanted a short rules reminder before playing on their own. Then there are players who keep asking questions to ensure they're doing everything correctly. Every group is different. As a demoer, you need to find the right approach. When demoing at my local board game cafe, for example, I had to switch between demoing and teaching. It required adaptability depending on what the group needed. Tactility, a relaxed atmosphere, and flexibility create demos that feel personal. Players will remember how they felt when you demoed to them. It is that sense of enjoyment that often draws them back to play the same board game later. Demoing is an invitation to try something new. When players sit down at the demo table, they aren't committing to a full playthrough, but to a brief snapshot. A good demo leaves players curious and confident, ready to try it again later, and hopefully buy themselves a copy. Of course, not everyone likes my approach to demoing. Some people prefer to know everything before they start, and that is completely fine. Yet, I find that most players appreciate being guided through a few turns before taking full control. The experience feels more natural, more like learning a new skill than being back in school. My experiences at conventions and board game cafes have allowed me to improve my approach to demoing. I learned as much from the unsuccessful demos as from the good ones. The times I tried to explain games I barely knew taught me that good preparation is essential. The times I improvised or adapted to a group's needs showed me how flexible the process can be. Each interaction, whether with complete newcomers or well-versed board gamers, adds another piece to the puzzle of how people learn and enjoy together. Every demo is a small act of connection. It is an opportunity for people to share laughter and discovery, even if for only 15 minutes. What I love about demoing is seeing people's faces light up when they feel they have figured out the game. Seeing a player start hesitantly and finishing the demo, teaching other people around the table the rules, is hugely satisfying. Running a good demo is hard work, but also hugely rewarding. Demoing isn't about finishing the game, but about beginning a story that players might choose to continue long after the demo ends.
Thank you for listening to this Tabletop Games blog topic discussion podcast. Please check the description below for links mentioned in this episode, as well as to the written version of this article on the blog. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, give us some stars or leave a review. Please also tell your friends about me, and if you want to offer financial support, check out my Patreon and Ko-fi pages, links to which you'll find in the blog at tabletopgamesblog.com. So thank you again for listening, and I hope to see you again soon.
This podcast was made possible by the generous help of my supporters. Royal Patron Sean Newman, Magic Champion John Risley, Castle Guards David Miller and James Naylor, Dice Masters Alex Bardi, Paul Grogan and Robin Kay, and Shining Lights Jacob Davis, Gavin Jones and Richard Simpson.